This video is first and foremost about the spiritual death, the death of the soul of all those who follow Seth. If when you read the Bible, with or without Pharaoh, and you get from it conformity, you lose your soul. Satan is best described as set on being a Greek kind of sissy word for Ra, which is his cult center. The Ra and the followers of Ra. Sort of like Cush and the Cushites. It is a person, it is a place, it is a people. Okay. So Seth sought to defy Ra and put himself before Ra and Ra's choice, which is Horus, which is the African warrior face. Now it gets a little bit confusing just for a second, but it's okay because it is over after I die anyway, and the confusion from then on doesn't matter. We're just talking about animals. Even the Greek word for spirit is animus, animal kind of conformity. So when we look at the idea of Har war, it's a hair war. Har war, Horus the Elder, Narmer's deity. We'll get to that momentarily. Okay, this is the true idea of God's natural choice that can never be replaced, especially due to the unnatural reproductive activities of man, concealing any kind of potential alteration, which is clear that it is not the case. There will never be another direction. So when we look at Igbo Ukwu, right, the great Igbo, the heir war, the heir to Ra's throne from the leopard perspective was determined by the Igbo Ukwu Empire and who would be attached to them and rule Egypt and have the crown of the world, so to speak, as Amen sought to name himself the Lord of the Throne. Well, let me just, to make a long story short, okay, Seth is a bitch. He's a coward. His people are the most despicable abominations that history has ever known. I am very disheartened when I look in the mirror and see what their drugs have done to diminish my masculinity and make me look more like those jackal-faced dogs that have infested the world with their inferior forms of philosophy and so on. Just absolutely depraved. They should all be executed immediately. So the next best thing is to serving me is to execute yourself. And I'm not saying anyone should commit suicide. I am not saying it. It is simply me interpreting what the Lord would have them do. If that's not freedom of religion, what the hell is, right? If you can't have freedom of religion when it matters most in terms of life and death, don't bother. Okay, so when we look at Greek, it's a play on words for core backwards, metology, logos, and logic. Again, remember, the African face, I'll put it at the end of my videos, my father's father, his picture with a very rough face. And even if it wasn't my father's father, it was his grandfather, it was a fluke, who fucking cares? The idea is still the same. Okay, the face is this angry, kind of jungle man, rough face, natural warrior face. Why do we have these cartoon-faced people across the world? Whites, Asians, and even Semites to this day. All over the world we see people who are taking on this cartoon face as a result of the people that propagate homosexuality as a lifestyle and blur the line with their geek scientists between a gay and a scientist and a warrior and everything else with their Hollywood movies and so on and so forth, because the reproduction cycle has been perverted, it has been crushed, it has been destroyed, and we'll get into that momentarily. So it also goes back to the mind, body, soul ideas. Poisoning the mind, the body, the soul, the ideas, and it coming out in the face. No, see, so, or say up, right? Wordplay, backwards. Interchangeable vowels, vow to El, vow to the Lord. Which Lord, right? The E epsilon, I believe it is. There's some Greek symbol for the E. I don't want to waste my time getting into it. I don't give a shit. Okay. Pay eyes on, pay eyes in, to pay them back. When a bunch of sniveling betas with no heart, cowards. There is 10 obvious ways for someone like me to easily strike down a mini-me in combat. And we're not even going to talk about a big slow fuck, because why bother? You know, why bother? It's insulting to even think that someone who's big and strong has a chance in ancient combat with somebody who's maneuverable and fast. What are we talking about here? Okay, he's done. You know, even Zeus with his fat ass uses lightning to strike down his enemies. I'm not going to dignify that with an explanation. So let's look at the 1 through 10, the obvious targets, the military targeting, if you will. We have 10 obvious targets for someone who's trying to rush in, right? To some point, they're going to have some kind of direct angle in and kind of minimum body movement because their body isn't made for true avoidance and mobility. You know, the obvious is, the number one is the top of the head. The old put your hand on the mini-me's head, right? And striking him on the top of the head. So then we have the 2 and 3, the eyes. The 4, the face in general. You know, a powerful blow with a sharp object or even a stick to the face can be very crippling and deadly. So then we get the 5. Okay, so we have the 1, 2. Okay, the 4 is the neck. The 5 is the stomach area in general. Okay. Then we have the 6 and the 7, the 2 sides, right? Stabbing them around about way in the sides, right? I've been very gracious by counting the neck as 1 when it can be struck from many different angles. Okay. The 8 and the 9 are the knees. If you can't rush in quickly and you're shorter and you're taking on someone who's tall and fast, what the fuck are you going to do? So all these are beginning blows, okay? You have to make sure he doesn't strike any of these things. And obviously sparring takes away from that. So 8, 9, and 10 is the groin. Okay, all these are devastating, kind of immediate loss blows. Okay, so when we, and of course, Seth is the Lord of the Storm. Now I don't have time to explore this. You know, this is something to me. It's very obvious. It's very kind of disheartening to even have to explain this in the first place. To have to explain how women are shallow and stupid for not seeing it this way, and for not dating the hero and not stopping at nothing to be with the hero. It's cowardly. A warrior can't respect it. A warrior can't respect the modern woman. Get her out of here. I don't have no time for that. Sophia, bitch, shit. Take her outside and dispose of her. Cheat, right? It's even right there in the word. Chi, at, right? Chi-e, right? 2-E-C, backwards, okay? Chaos, Chi-Os, putting the emphasis on the worldly energy. We have this kind of brute force American nonsense with science from Ebert looking pussies, and then we have this Eastern art with the emphasis on the Chi. And at best, you have Shaolin Kung Fu, which is designed to show Pharaoh the line. King Fi, King Fo, Kung Fu. Okay, Con, Fo, and so on and so forth. All right, we have the obvious lead right there in the words. You don't even have to really change anything. O-B, vi, o-us, lie. Break down the word, it's right there. Recite, re-cat-e, re-cat-e. Sarcastic, sarcast-I-C. So a bunch of sniveling ass kind of Western snobs pretending they're superior. They're beta trash. Get them out of here. Castrate, right? To castrate someone chemically and otherwise, right? Castrate. They're concerned with the rate of your caste coming into play. Cast-ra, shun, castration. Petty, right? The petty Western kind of philosophies. Petty kind of upper class bitches, quote unquote. Right? Class E, right? Class E bitches. Just sniveling petty cowards. Get them out of here. We get the word Abba, father itself, comes from the Hebrew word O-B, right, with the line straight, right, O-B, right, which goes back to the man O-B, Ebo, O-B backwards, and so on and so forth. The A itself is the first letter, alpha. E is epsilon, is beta, effeminate, evil, fucking cowardly, bait A, you know, get them out of here, just sniveling pussies. Okay, in the absence of submission to Pharaoh, you are sniveling, despicable animals that are humans who had the potential to be in the spirit of God, and you chose to be an animal. No time for that pussy shit. Narmer palate, okay? We see he's on in one knee, right? This goes back to the chart with the 10 obvious strike targets, you know. He's immobilized, and Narmer's holding his hair, and he's showing the most obvious thing. The upper part of his skull is exposed. You can strike down, you can strike toward, okay, and then there's 2 eyes, and the eyes act as a kind of hole, a funnel, where if you slightly miss, the knife or the weapon is guided to the eye. Okay, and this is natural before glasses and so on and so forth. I shouldn't have to explain it. Anyway, so he's on one knee. It's like, look, don't let the pussy descendants of Seth ever, even for a moment, I'm talking ever, go on some mat or some shit and pretend that skywalking doesn't matter. Because yes, we can strike their knee if they think all they have to do is guard their, stay back and kind of wait for my time, wait for my time. We can strike your knee. We can strike all these zones with our air range, mountain range, a range, martial to order to arrange. Don't let those pussies do some fucking ballerina bitch shit on the mat. Don't let them use drugs and technology. Men and set, man, using men, chemistry, the patron of chemists. Anyway, we go on to Menes, right? The main E's are the followers of Set, who also Scorpion King, right? Men and Set were his deities. Main A's are the Igbo Kwa people, kind of Ra temple. Horus, the son of Ra, right? Har, where, right? Whose son? When, why, right? Horus, the son of Isis. Har-O, Isis, right? Or Har-O, Aries. Airy, and Airy in the cult center of the leopard place, not in the stayed around and kind of absorbed the Kanhor perspective Ethiopia, which is also in the Greco-Roman bird myths. Okay, with the story of Perseus. I don't have time to go over that. In the Ethiopian princess, she was a slut tied to the fucking rock by bitches to be married to an Ebert pussy. Okay. So we get the Set, right? It is also the E's. It's right there in the word, right? The E's, right? The T is the feminine suffix, suffix, castrate, and so on and so forth, right? Fox and all this other bitch shit. Okay, so we look at the homosexuality. 97, Pew Research, I believe, from 2015, gave us the 97% of Nigerians reject homosexuality as a lifestyle. Okay, we go back to where does homosexuality come from? It's really, the Bible tells a story. It's obvious that it's based on truth when you look at Egyptian mythology and everything else. So we get Sodom and Gomorrah, somewhere in the Middle East, Babylon, etc., and going through Crete to Europe, Europe being, from that point on, being the main propagators of homosexuality. King Minos, Crete, the island where Zeus was born, King Minos, pacify. Minos is said to be the founder of homosexuality in the West, and that goes right there with the wordplay. Minos, Minoan people, meeting the Mycenaean people is where you get this kind of sissy-faced Perseus. He's basically showing some evil hag bitch who's in denial that she shouldn't be sleeping with the enemy for any reason, and she should prioritize her temple, showing her about herself to cut off Medusa's head, who was in Athena's temple, and Athena helps him do it. Why does she help him do it if women are so right in Greco-Roman mythology and the moral of the story is women is right? Why does Athena help him find the weapons he needs to kill the bitch? I mean, come on, it's just fucking dumb. You basically have two Western women who are outside of the divine order, and one of them has it more right than the other, and is trying to save face, but she's also a petty whore. We see this in the story of Ariadne and the weaving and telling the gods about themselves. So a bunch of European scum who don't want people to tell them about themselves, and they're not fit to rule, that they're sick in the head. That is what Greco mythology, Roman mythology is about. Rape culture. What is rape culture? It is Western culture. So a bunch of liberal Greek societies on the left cannot save us from it. Anyway, it goes back to Odysseus. How did Odysseus die? He died by poison fighting his son, who he didn't know who he was. Hercules died by poison. The poison arrow from the Hydra. His Deianira basically was tricked by the centaur who took her away to use the shirt that was soaked in blood. Supposedly it's an aphrodisiac. She's trying to trick her husband and ends up poisoning him instead. There's a lot of lessons to be learned there. Achilles is killed by a poison arrow. Jason falls asleep. Theseus, who gives a shit how he died, he's a bitch. The moral of the story, for nothing else, right? One of these guys flies too close to the sun and it melts something, and basically you're trying to be too much like Ra. Get that bullshit the fuck. I'm talking the fuck out of here. That was the moral of the story. That's what God says to man through your bitch-ass mythologies. Trojan War, Achilles reveals himself in Odysseus, through Odysseus by picking a weapon to fight with. When they made a ruse, he's dressed like a woman. Basically, they're saying someone's going to attack. He picks a weapon to fight with. Okay, we know him by his works, and what weapon is suited for him is his works. The people that don't allow Pharaoh to have the right weapon he needs and the right system to, and they don't submit their women to him, we know that they are outside of the divine order. So he's also the single combat champion, if that doesn't rub it in more. So basically the things work the way they do is so short people can pretend they are smarter than tall people with other female non-Sun Temple martial arts brain. They're not from the Sun Temple, not from the followers of Horus, so they can pretend they're smarter than the graceful martial artists with the Western treachery and Isaac Newton looking sissies. Anyway, and we can have strong non-martial artists pretend that they are the most masculine and the greatest warriors. It's a bunch of bitches splitting the Pharaoh's power, a bunch of demons democratizing the Pharaoh's power in the demos spirit of peasants, Luciferian energy as peasants. So they use demonstration to rub it in more. We see the 80s timelines and the eugenic sterilizations as recently and recorded by the investigative reporters in 2010 of the female prison inmates with a coarse salpingectomy. So basically, they have been doing their eugenic bullshit on record well after I was born, so certainly the logical assumption is they've been doing it all my life to me, with an emphasis on me especially.